In a quiet village on the edge of a sprawling enchanted forest, there lived a cheerful and curious young girl named Little Red Riding Hood. Her real name was Lila, but everyone called her Little Red because of the vibrant crimson cloak she always wore. This cloak was a gift from her grandmother, woven with threads said to have protective magic. One sunny morning, Little Red's mother handed her a basket filled with fresh bread, honey, and a jar of herbal tea. "Take this to your grandmother," her mother said, "but remember to stay on the path and avoid speaking to strangers. The enchanted forest is beautiful, but it is also full of hidden dangers." Little Red nodded eagerly, kissed her mother goodbye, and set off into the forest. The path twisted and turned under a canopy of shimmering green leaves. The air smelled of wildflowers and fresh earth, and beams of sunlight danced on the ground. Birds chirped cheerful songs, and now and then, Little Red caught glimpses of magical creature a silvery fox darting through the underbrush, a deer with antlers that glowed faintly, and even a tiny winged sprite hovering near a patch of flowers. As she walked, Little Red suddenly heard a rustling sound. Out from behind a tree stepped a tall gray wolf. His fur gleamed in the sunlight, and his golden eyes sparkled with cunning. "Good morning, little girl," the wolf said smoothly. "And where might you be heading on this fine day?" Little Red hesitated, remembering her mother's warning. She knew she shouldn't talk to strangers, but the wolf seemed so friendly. "I'm going to my grandmother's house," she replied. "She is not feeling well." The wolf's eyes lit up at the mention of the grandmother. He suggested that Little Red pick some beautiful flowers for her grandmother. Little Red thought it was a great idea, and wandered off the path collecting flowers. Meanwhile, the wolf hurried ahead to the grandmother's house. He knocked on the door, and, imitating Little Red's voice, tricked the grandmother into letting him in. The wolf then gobbled her up. He looked strange, but she did not fully realize. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have," she said. "The better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "Grandmother, what big hands you have." "The better to hug you with, my dear." "Grandmother, what big teeth you have." "The better to eat you with." The wolf jumped out of bed, and Little Red quickly ran out of the house, yelling for help. A nearby woodsman heard her cries and rushed over. He bravely defeated the wolf, saving both Little Red and her grandmother. They had learned a valuable lesson about trusting strangers in the enchanted forest. The wolf knew the forest better than anyone. He took a hidden shortcut that led straight to the grandmother's cottage. When he arrived, he knocked on the door, mimicking Little Red's voice. "It's me, Grandma." "Little Red Riding Hood," he called. The grandmother, who had been resting in her rocking chair, opened the door. Before she could react, the wolf stepped inside. "Don't worry, I won't hurt you," the wolf said with a sly grin. "I just need you out of the way for a little while." He gently but firmly locked the grandmother in a cupboard, then put on her nightgown and cap. Crawling into the bed, he pulled the covers up to his chin and waited for Little Red. Not long after, Little Red reached the cottage, holding her basket and a bouquet of flowers. She noticed the door was slightly ajar and felt a twinge of unease. Pushing the door open, she stepped inside. "Grandmother, it's me," she called. "Come in, my dear," replied the wolf, doing his best to sound like the grandmother. Little Red approached the bed, but paused. Something didn't feel right. Her grandmother looked different. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have," Little Red said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "And what big ears you have," she said, edging closer. "All the better to hear you with," the wolf answered. "And what big teeth you have," Little Red exclaimed, stepping back in alarm. The wolf threw off the covers, revealing his sharp teeth and snarling face. "That's right, my dear. I am the wolf," he roared. Little Red, though startled, didn't panic. She quickly grabbed a nearby heavy candlestick and hit the wolf hard on the head, stunning him. She then ran to the cupboard and released her grandmother. Together, they escaped the cottage, leaving the dazed wolf behind. They learned a valuable lesson about being careful and resourceful, and they were very happy to be safe.